Welcome back to Penguin Classics On Air. What was Steinbeck's response to all of this?
Steinbeck was actually in a pretty bad way the week that all this unfolded in Kern County. His marriage was breaking up. He was under a tremendous amount of pressure, having written The Grapes of Wrath. It was hugely successful, of course. It was the most popular book in the country. But he was also under a lot of heat. A group called the Associated Farmers, a group of big, powerful growers and their financial backers, were hammering the book. And Steinbeck was actually afraid for his life. He was worried that the Associated Farmers, who had been known to employ vigilantes to break up in a very violent way agricultural unions and others who went against their interests, he was afraid that they might do something to him, and if they wouldn't harm him physically, he was afraid that they might set him up on a drunk driving charge or even a rape case. He really was living kind of under siege at this point. All that said, he was aware of what was going on, and he actually had an exchange with the one member of the Board of Supervisors who voted against the censorship. He was sort of the one Democrat on the board, and he had voted against the censorship, and Steinbeck had an exchange with him and commended him for his service and for fighting the powers there.
How does this story capture the tumultuous era of the 1930s?
Really, this is what my book, Obscene in the Extreme, is all about. It's really a great window, I think, this fight into the class politics of 1930s America. Kind of where you stood on whether Steinbeck's book should be banned or not, whether you thought it's something that really accurately captured the spirit, if not the facts, of what the migrants were going through. Where you stood on those questions really said a lot about kind of the class politics of the time. And this whole censorship battle is just a great window into this deep divide of far left and far right in California and in America.
Well, I'm curious, as you were promoting your book, had you come up to people that were now still against the book? What kind of responses did you get?
It's interesting. I did find certainly some people in the migrant community in particular who don't like the novel. This was a big sort of thing at the time. The Associated Farmers made a big deal to try and say that it wasn't just big agricultural interests, big business interests who opposed Steinbeck's book, but the migrants themselves, those who came out of the Dust Bowl and made this trek to California. And there were some 400,000 people in all who made this epic exodus into the Golden State during the 1930s. The Associated Farmers made a big point of saying it's the migrants themselves who don't like the book. That's not quite true. There were many, many migrants who found that Steinbeck's portrayal of their plight through the Joad family, the protagonists in the novel, that he really portrayed them to be people of great courage and dignity, and who really struggled through incredible hardship with a lot to admire. But there are others, and I found some of them now in their 80s and 90s, some of their children, who still don't like The Grapes of Wrath. And the truth is there's a lot of ambivalence about the novel in the migrant community, in what's now kind of commonly called the Okie community. And the Okies, some really don't like it, and the reason is they say Steinbeck portrayed us in a way that it wasn't like that. And in particular, if you remember, the book opens, Tom Joad had just gotten out of jail for having killed someone. And I've had people say, we didn't do those things. We didn't live like that. Some of the language, again, that Steinbeck used that caused the book to be censored on obscenity grounds in the 30s, people still say, we didn't talk like that. We weren't uncouth like that. So again, real mixed reaction in the migrant community itself.
Well, this is such an interesting story to share with us, and we appreciate you talking with Penguin Classics.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to Penguin Classics On Air. All the books mentioned on the show are available wherever books are sold. Visit us again for more programs on great classic books.